Good morning. We're here in the garden because we've had lots of requests for our home vegetable garden drip irrigation design. So we wanted to add a little addendum to help everyone out for either their own garden or for clients.
Okay, so we're in my garden and it's mid-August, and this garden by mid-August it's a bit overgrown, but what it's going to demonstrate is how I installed the drip irrigation for my vegetable plants.
We're going to be looking at three different parts of our installation. We're going to be looking at our inline drip emitter line. We're going to be looking at our straw bale installation, and we're also going to be looking at a battery operated timer for some fruit trees.
So I put this drip irrigation system in fairly quickly because we were getting ready to go on vacation. It's summer, it's hot here in California, and we needed to have this vegetable garden on an automatic system for the 2 weeks we were going to be gone. So some of it was on a traditional controller, and then again Mark's going to be showing you how because it's kind of landlocked, we put the fruit trees on a battery operated controller. So it's going to show you some options as far as your installation techniques. All right, here we have our above ground drip irrigation installation for this raised bed. And what I've done is I've just taken a 1/2-inch supply line, 1/2-inch drip line tubing, and I ran it around the total exterior of the raised bed, around the perimeter, so it forms a loop which gives us equal pressure and equal flow throughout the system. At the low end, I've put in a flush cap so I can flush any debris out of the line that may have gotten into it during the installation process. And then I just took 1/4-inch inline tubing, and I've spaced them roughly about 1 foot apart. And these tan tubings have an emitter built into them about every 6 inches within the tubing. So now I can take my seeds, I can take my starts, I can put them right where I have an emitter. And you can see a wetting pattern that's happening, and with it being every 6 inches, we're going to get good even irrigation, and with the 1/2-inch tubing looped on the outside, we'll have equal flow throughout the system. We also did straw bale gardening, and the two bales here in the foreground almost look more like just piles of straw than actual bales. And they have just really deteriorated through the summer, but the plants are still growing really healthy in them. And we're just running an inline drip tubing, 1/2-inch drip tubing down the middle of the bale and irrigating it that way. These two bales at the far end from what the view we were just looking at were purchased at the same time from a different feed store, and the tomatoes are just going gangbusters in them. Roma tomatoes and early girls, and they've held up beautifully. And the bell peppers in the collapse bales are just doing great this year. It's probably one of the best bell pepper years I've had, using drip irrigation just run down the line in the straw bales, and you can see in this view how the bales have collapsed, but the 1/2-inch drip tubing is just distributing the water, and it's held very tightly in the bale, and that just works really well to irrigate and work in small space gardening. Sometimes you're going to find that you cannot connect your irrigation valves directly to your irrigation controller, your main controller that may be operating your landscape. Well, an option is being able to get a little battery operated controller and putting that just onto a hose bib and connecting your drip irrigation to that.
These kind of battery operated timers hook up very easily to a hose bib. They're completely programmable, so you can have them start whenever you'd like, run for however long you'd like, and on which days, and you would coordinate that with your traditional 110 volt timer if you have those kind of systems on site also.
So we have the battery operated controller. You can see where the drip irrigation line is screwed onto it. It's just a hose fitting, and that drip line is the supply line that goes out to irrigate my peach tree and almond tree and a couple of apple trees. So the black line is the supply line. It's just 1/2-inch solid drip. It tees off. I've got a 1/2-inch inline drip that circles the peach tree. So this peach tree is getting irrigated, And then since this was temporary, it's all above ground, and I just ran it across the way, and it now is circling the almond tree, and that same inline drip irrigation, and then from there it feeds on down the hill to a couple of apple trees, and it works really well. The battery operated controller is super convenient. So one more view of using inline drip irrigation for your vegetable garden. Here, instead of 1/4-inch tubing, I'm using the 1/2-inch inline tubing. The emitters are spaced 12 inches apart in this case, and I am running them about 12 inches apart, the two lines, to form a grid. And again, I've got my supply line there at the beginning. I've got the exhaust line or the back end of it at the far end where I can maintain equal pressure. And you can see the marigolds, the tomatoes are all doing fantastic. And even butternut squash is loving this. So this is just a really a convenient way, and if you're going to use drip irrigation in the vegetable garden, I strongly suggest that you go with the inline drip. It's going to be the easiest and your most effective.
To wrap up our discussion today, we're going to have some online resources for you also to show you some of these drawings and how we can draw and design for your customer or for yourself and get it on paper, some of the things that you've seen today for your drip irrigation design for the home vegetable garden.
Yep, so we're going to draw up what this system looks like, how I laid it out, and how you can have your beans, tomatoes, squash, whatever you're growing in rows and have the drip irrigation there for it, and just make this work for you and make it as easy as possible. So we'll have this diagram for you in the resources. So thanks for watching. Mark, thanks for coming out this morning.